Bonsoir, mes amis. I hope you're having a very good Wednesday. I, on the other hand, was jamming over here, trying to get my blood pumping and listening to some music so I can get all the energy I need to be peppy and outgoing really on here. It's been a hot summer. It has been, it is a very hot summer. So here's what I'm thinking. How are you doing this very hot summer? Did you survive it? Are you surviving it? I hope you are surviving it. If you are like some people, or most of us, when we do have the option, you live indoors during the summer. And I feel that. I totally get that. Today we are like in the 90s, I want to say over here, but then with the humidity and the heat directly on us, it feels like 96 apparently. So I imagine today especially is true that you are just living indoors. And on that subject of living indoors, I want to talk to you about all the amenities, all the machines that we have that made it possible for us to be able to survive the summer, even in the north, Kentucky ish, Pennsylvania, New York. None of us escapes, none of us escapes the heat when it comes summertime. The South, now that's a different story. I don't even want to get into that. However, I have some videos, planned today, and as usual, we're gonna get going. We're gonna go fast, go quickly, because we have a lot to cover. And of course, I'd love to hear your thoughts towards the end, and we can just get discussing about all these cool things. But first, on the agenda today is the fridge. I know, the fridge. You probably don't think about it on your everyday life anymore. You just know that when you go in there, it's, mom went shopping and she filled it up with all your favorite snacks. If you're lucky, my mom just filled it up with the necessity food that is good for you, which is also very good. It's good to eat healthy because then you'll have less ailments, but you know that already. So let's play the fridge clip of back then. This is saying 1935, but back then when it first came out, it was very different to what we're looking at now. So it's slowly making improvements as time goes along. But this was the closest one that I could find to like an old fridge and have a video of it. So I'm showing you what we started with kind of, and then what we would end up with today. So let's get into the fridge.
Mrs. Will Thompson bought a Frigidaire with super freezer. The neighbors and friends learned of this new oasis and brought their butter, milk, and eggs for safekeeping. One place which, no matter how hot it might be outside, gave a temperature safely below 50 degrees.
A temperature safely below 50 degrees. And look, I'm not 100% yet with everything, so you saw a little bit of what's coming, what I have planned next. But all of these things, all of these machines are making us have the very comfortable lives that we have today. I put it in there that, castles had nothing on your modern day apartment. They truly had nothing on our modern day apartment. Yes, kings and queens, had the best amenities, but kings and queens didn't have air conditioning. They didn't have the microscope because all of these devices and all of these new technologies saved countless of lives and really has made us so comfy in the world as we know it today. See, castles had nothing on your apartment. Nothing, absolutely nothing. And this is a cool picture over here, just chillax, air conditioning, an ad kind of thing. And then this over here, we have the little monitor top refrigerator. This is when it first came out. Isn't that cute? It's so tiny and compact. And then, of course, we have the televisor. This is the Baird televisor. And the reason why we have this one is because really it gave birth to all of television, streaming, and seeing things on TV as we know it today. Like everything started off with this little machine right over here. But the fridge, the monitor top refrigerator, So this one I think is what we ended up seeing in the video. This one over here. And then this one is you saw the outside, but now look at the inside. Wow. Isn't that so cool? And this here a little bit, you're able to put ice trays in here, I believe. It makes like six tiny cubes, I think. Like think of like the little hotel mini fridges that you have. It like makes like tiny cubes like that. And then this is it full of food and what they would have put it in back then. And I'm guessing it's a bare necessities for this fridge. You're thinking butter, milk, base maybe perhaps like leftovers or a you know, soaking thing for the next dish coming up, or just leaving something over there in it real quick, or beverage just to cool it for the summer. That's the other thing I didn't think about. I forgot is us Americans, especially the cold drinks that we all have, the beverages, the ice. Oh, could you imagine living without ice, especially as an American? We are notorious. We are known for our ice over here. I remember going to France, and my friends and I we sat down to eat and stuff. And when I tell you, we asked for ice. Well, I knew better than ask for ice, because I was just like, I know they don't like it when we do that. When we go over to Europe and we ask for ice, they are so upset about it. But my one friend, she really wanted ice. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll ask. And I asked, and yes, this man got us the ice, but let me tell you, the attitude, the treatment, it was just like, ugh, these annoying touristy kids. It's just like these Americans and their ice. You don't need ice. Like spring just begun. You are fine. But for us Americans, it's a very big deal. Okay, it's a very big deal without our ice. It's just we well, I've become accustomed. Okay, I've become accustomed to this way of living, and I now am now into that realm of I need my ice. But before that, I just lived my life. I just lived my life and was okay without the ice. But refrigerators and ice and being cool in the summer and having very nice cool treat or those popsicles. We are all of this to GE, General Electric manufacturing company, who would create a decent amount of these new machines for the home specifically. Let's get into it. By preventing food spoilage, the refrigerator has probably saved more lives than battalions of doctors and nurses. The refrigeration system was widespread in the food and beverage industries in the late 19th century. Affordable self-contained refrigerators for homes came about in the 20th century, and with it, the full benefits of refrigeration. One moment. Da, 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 da. See, you guys, I'm not. Oh, Cullen. I know a lot of Indian people that hate ice water. Oh, only drink it warm. No way. Really? Huh. Well, I guess you get used to what you get used to. So, if they hate having the ice in it, we hate not having the ice because that's what we're accustomed to. Cool. Awesome having you here. Let's continue the reading. Until the 19th century, cold drinks were freely available to all during the winter, at least in those latitudes where snow and ice were abundant. But in the warmer months, they were a luxury that only the wealthiest could afford. The idea of refrigeration using ice dates back to antiquity. Ice was collected in the winter and stored in ice houses or buried in deep pits to be used in the summer. With poor insulation, however, the wastage was enormous. A vast increase of the urban population occurred during the first industrial revolution. When the second revolution hit, steady growth and demand made the fridge system a success. At this point, transportation and storage of fresh food to the cities from distance production became a necessity. Luxuries such as cold drinks and ices were also in demand. It's always summertime in your kitchen, and the dangers of food contamination are always present. as long as it is possible for the temperature in your refrigerator to rise even a degree or two above 50. That is an ad for the time. Without any mechanical means to produce ice, the only option was to increase the capacity of ice houses. The provision of ice to domestic customers became a huge business in the late 19th century. Keeping a domestic icebox functional was labor intensive, and as demand continued to increase, problems arose in maintaining supply. The development of mechanical refrigeration on a large scale was brewing in the 1870s, and meatpacking a decade later. Industrial plants were much too large for home use, and the earliest domestic models had the cooling plant in the basement and the cold box in the kitchen. The first self contained refrigerators appeared in the first decades of the 20th century, with brands such as Frigidaire, Electrolux, and Kelvinator. The cost of the units, however, cost more than a family car. As a result, the market for refrigerators remained tiny. The first affordable models for home use was introduced by GE in 1927, nicknamed the Monitor Top, which gradually reduced in price from $525 to $290. The refrigerator takes advantage of the principle described by the second law of thermodynamics that when a liquid changes to gas, it cools. Vapor compression remained as the primary technology used in refrigerators for most of the 20th century. Designed for General Electric by Christian Steenstrup, the Monitor Top was a self contained refrigerator with a steel cabinet lined inside and out with porcelain. A heavy door with a latch ensured that the unit was well insulated. Inside, the small icebox was just large enough to make a few trays of ice cubes, and three shelves provided storage space. The compressor and temperature control were on top of the unit. With its Chippendale legs, the Monitor Top looked more like a bedside table or bathroom cabinet than a refrigerator. But in 1927, it was a cutting edge design. Earlier models had been made of wood. The Monitor Top was produced in several sizes between 1927 and 1936. The unit used two toxic refrigerants, sulfur dioxide and methyl formate, which were replaced by non toxic Freon in the 1930s. Fun fact. Fun fact about this. The signature feature of the design was a hermetically sealed condenser fitted on top of the cabinet. The refrigerator got its nickname, the Monitor Top, from the resemblance of the condenser to the gun turret of the first American Civil War ironclad warship, the USS Monitor. Very cool. Wow. Yes. Remember when we were talking about Henry Ford and we said that strove. That always gets me wrong. Anybody know the meaning? Put it down below. Even if after this video's over, just put it in the comments and help me out. Help a sister out. But going back to Henry and him making the automobile and the Model T for the great multitude. Remember like when we talked about him trying to like reduce the price, and around 1927 when the fridge is coming out, Ford really was well established in what he was doing. So at that period of time, it is entirely conceivable that the fridge costing like $590 or $550 would be worth more than a family car at the time. Because Ford at that point was trying to get it down to like $300 at that point in time, or maybe like four something or very below. But still, the refrigerator costs more than a family car at the time. That is crazy to me. I can't even think about that. But let's see. We are having here Christian Steenstrup. It's fascinating how GE would end up being an inventor in a way, or a company being an inventor. It's rare that we think about it that way, but such supplies of the home, like the washing machine and the refrigerator, and also kind of like the air conditioning system, GE has a role to play, in these types of machines, and I'm surprised. Inflation is wild, damn. Inflation is, yes, certainly wild. Certainly wild. I'd love to buy a car for less. For less than a fridge, lol. Oh my gosh. Yes, that would be nice. Wouldn't we all love that? We'd be like, I'm giving up my fridge. I'm okay with giving up my fridge if you just like, you know, let me have a car that's cheaper. Okay. Would you guys do that? I'm sure Indian people or people who are, European people, if they don't care for the ice, I'm sure they would be like, "Yay, that's a good trade. We're up for it." Oh, that's so funny. But that's a good one. Yes. Inflation is crazy. It certainly is crazy. So we have this man here, the designer, the person who made it. Look how tall this dude is. Or the fridge could be that short. Look how short the fridge is compared to what we have today. That's another way of looking at it. But the monitor top right over here. And yes, I wanted to get to you guys. I wanted to get to you guys about the toxins that were being used to make this a reality. Many of these new, you know, inventions that we have, we try and it works. It works pretty well. However, sometimes we don't find out that there are more issues in the background until we like delve into it or we gain more technology such as the microscope for example and are able to see what truly is happening. It always makes me ponder, what are we doing today that in the future we're going to think about like, hey, well, now that we have the technology, that was bad to do. That was bad to do. But methylformate. It is a chemical compound from formic acid and methanol. It is a colorless, flammable liquid with a pleasant, ethereal odor. It has a variety of uses, including as a fumigant, a blowing agent for foams, and the synthesis of other formic acid derivatives. The next toxic refrigerant is a sulfur dioxide. It's primarily released from burning fossil fuels and industrial process, and it can be harmful to both humans and the environment. Also, it has a variety of uses, including smelting metals, petroleum refining, and other manufacturing processes. One of them, natural way of the world, is volcanic reaction or fuel combustion. Think when you drive your car, it just naturally occurs. And the USS Monitor. See? The monitor top. Look at this. It is they're exactly right. That just sticks out straight up. And then I had to do a color picture for you because, just a painting maybe of what it might have looked like in action or something similar to what it was going through at the time. But that looks really cool. USS Monitor top. And I'm surprised. They're just like, well, but at the time when it was being made, yes, it makes sense. It all makes sense. Next on the list is the Baird television. I know, Baird television. Let me see what I have planned for the Baird television in terms of in terms of videos. That's what I need to see. I need to see if we have videos planned for this one. Perfect. Okay. And I'm uncertain if we do. I really am uncertain if we do for that particular one because there's only so many videos we can find, especially when you're thinking about how old these things are and where they came from and when they were invented. So for that one, unfortunately, I do not have a video. However, you're seeing me live right now. Count this as a video, okay? Count this as a video as what you're seeing in what this Baird televisor kind of gave birth to, what it made possible for everyone else following behind. That's so weird. I had set things up a certain way and I'm just like, why is everything changing on me? Why is that happening? But yes, Baird television. The signature feature of the design was a oh, I'm sorry. That was a fun fact about the fridge. The Baird televisor. First television. Let me drink some water and then we will continue. And again, I need encouragement for my water drinking. You'll be like, one day I will miss it and you'll be like, huh, she doesn't have water. I'm like, I'm making you think about it. Then one day I'll just miss it and you'll be like, huh. Or the game will be, does Shalinda have water? Did she bring water this time? Television is without doubt the most influential media invention of the second half of the 20th century. Written off as a fad that could never challenge the leading entertainments of the day, radio and cinema, television had a difficult birth. Although it would quickly be surpassed, it provided the platform to make and view the world's first television broadcasts. In the early years of broadcasting, the pioneers of television in both Britain and America decided to explore the medium's potential as a form of entertainment. The choice of material, however, was probably indicative of how the medium would develop in two countries, Britain and America. The Americans offered the Queen's Messenger, broadcasted in 1928 from a studio in New York. They showed an action adventure drama. 2 years later, the London based British Broadcasting Corporation, also known as BBC, opted for a highbrow, one act play about death, The Man with the Flower in His Mouth. Putting on any kind of dramatic programming was extraordinarily ambitious because technical limitations were severe. The groundbreaking American broadcast used two factors and three cameras, but the screen was so small that viewers watching through their primitive sets could only see either a single actor's hand or face. The director used two of the cameras to film the actors' faces, while the third moved between their hands and the selection of props required by the script. A large crew of technicians provided the sound and visual effects. In its first dramatic broadcast, the BBC used a single dared camera that provided the only light source in an otherwise darkened studio. In both cases, sound and image were broadcasted separately and synchronized in the television receiver. The New York Herald Tribune verdict on the world's first television play was lukewarm. It concluded, "It was the general opinion among those that watched the experiment that the day of the radio moving picture was still a long way to go in the future." Whether the present system can be brought to commercial practicability and public usefulness remains a question. Readers may wonder, in the author's words, readers may wonder why I picked an electromechanical device to represent television instead of one of the electronic models that dominated the post-war market. I defend my choice because all the televisions first were all achieved with electromechanical television. These include interviews, sports, music, drama, outside broadcasts, and transatlantic transmissions. The Baird televisor firmly established the medium and subsequently imagination developed, elements merely built on what Baird and other pioneers had achieved. The Baird televisor and other similar devices are called electromechanical televisions because they combine moving mechanical parts with electronic components. The heart of the system was a Nipkow disc, named for its German inventor, Paul Nipkow. He came up with the idea when he was a student in 1883, but never developed it. The idea was later picked up by John Baird in Britain and Charles Jenkins in America. The spinning perforated disc acted as a basic scanner, breaking down an image that could be transmitted electronically to a receiver equipped with another Nipkow disc. Although technical limitations existed, by 1936, electromechanically television had firmly established the medium in the popular imagination. Subsequent developments merely built on what Baird and the other pioneers had achieved. 3 years after a successful demonstration of synchronized sound in television pictures in 1925, Jenkins set up the first television broadcasting station in the U.S., transmitting 5 evenings a week. However, by 1932, his company had gone bust and Jenkins himself died. Baird, with the backing of the BBC, fared better, his broadcast continuing until 1937. Although electromechanical television was an important breakthrough, there was one thing missing to confirm its significant patent infringement disputes. There was no litigation between Baird and Jenkins, despite the similarity of their systems. The major players in television were already looking beyond electromechanical systems to electronic television. One more time. Beyond electromechanical systems to electronic television. Just as Jenkins and Baird were making their first tentative broadcast, three major players raced to perfect television: Philo Farnsworth, Vladimir Zorikin, and Kalman Tihanyi. Their research combined led to the development of electronic television. The Baird televisor was initially sold in kit form with all parts exposed, the first production model released in 1930, enclosing the working parts in a metal cabinet, which looks like a strange hybrid between an old kitchen stove and a penny in the slot arcade peep show. The circular section at the center housed the Nipkow disc, powered by an electric motor. The screen to the right of the televisor consisted of a magnifying lens in front of the disc and a neon lamp behind it. This green image was made up of 30 lines. The Baird system increased its resolution to 240. It displayed vertically rather than horizontally, as in today's TVs. The small portrait display was only large enough for one person to see at a time. Instead of being black and white, the image was orange and white because of the color of the neon tube. The image was transmitted by radio waves, and a separate set was used to receive the sound for the transmission. Although about 1,000 televisors were manufactured, Baird himself knew that it was a crude prototype. Crude prototype. You know, guys, the Germans are becoming. I'm encountering a lot of German inventors in these machines that made major changes to history. I suppose the Germans have been overshadowed by World War II and World War I. The World Wars. I suppose all the great things that the Germans do have been overshadowed by World War I and World War II. But wow, I mean, a lot of these men, the innovations and what they do and the work that they do. We talked about the linotype. That was a man who is German, and now we're talking about televisor and some other things that we're going to come across. And the original ideas, all these ideas, people are building on top of them. It's, it's always more that we need to do. It's always adding on and improving on what already exists. And it seems like a decent amount of these guys, Nipkow Disc, Vladimir Zorikin. See, it's hard. It's hard to pronounce these names. But yeah, I've got to give the Germans credit. Germans, the Scottish. And so far, it's who I'm kind of remembering and like remembering the names of a lot of these guys, because it seems to be a decent amount of them, are what I have yet to encounter. Of course, we're going to explore a lot, so there's so much more to come. But look at this over here. This is so cool. It looks so weird. It looks like a toy, almost. Just like a toy. But here, you can see a picture over here. That just looks fascinating. I'm just so curious of how. Legit, how. This is the box that we were talking about, that sometimes it comes in a box. That just looks scary. It kind of just looks like a gothic thing that like you store something, I don't know, some organ in. Some like dismembered piece. I'm not sure. The thoughts that go through my mind. But this is the Baird televisor, the early prototype. So we have chains over here and coils and connecting pieces. This world, and of course we have the light over here, and then spinning. We're spinning over here. This world of men manufacturing and all the things that they use is so foreign to me. It is just so foreign. I'm always just so lost. Like, what is this? How did they do this? That's just like, how do they make it all work? Like, where does it come from? Math? Do they just do a bunch of physics? How do these ideas occur? I suppose they go to school, they come across other inventions, and then they build on it, and then they learn how to do it. Mechanical engineering, or engineering specifically, how to use tools, metallurgy. There's a lot of learning that needs to go into these things. And in many of these guys' cases, like it's their whole life. It's their whole life to produce this one great machine. It takes all that they have. The world's first take-home air conditioner, the Philo York Cool Wave air conditioner. I know. Right now you are like, "Yay, air conditioner." Yes, I agree. Yay, air conditioner because wow. Wow. This this heat without it, I don't know how we would survive this heat. I have no clue. And air conditioning, same thing, very old, so we won't get any videos for that, but we have more coming in the future that I'm sure will work out. But yeah, the air conditioning unit right now, I am extremely grateful for this invention. This invention that I do not think of as much, or you do not think of as much either, because it works, except when you have to call people to come and fix it. That's a pain. Anybody else remember your parents or your grandparents being like, my air conditioner that's legit 15 years old broke and it's gonna cost me $1,200, $1,500 to get it fixed? Like, I just remember like my mom being like, we gotta get a new air conditioner. Oh no, it lasted for like 15 years, but we gotta get a new one, and paying the price is just not worth it. But you know they're gonna pay the price because I've heard about women being in menopause, okay? My mother going through menopause, we all suffered. Meaning the house was always cold, okay? They were just put it down below. Put it in the chat down below. If you live with a woman who is keeping your house frigid, no hate, because we're all gonna go through it. I'm gonna go through it. At least half of the world is gonna go through it, and you just have to live with the house being frigidly cold. The answer to any time we needed, like any mom, can I turn up the thermostat? There are blankets. There are blankets in the ottoman. Did you go and get a comforter? Did you get a duvet cover, a winter duvet cover? Like, that's how bad it would be. But you know what happened to me though? Growing up in this way and be always having the house very, very cold means that when I went to sleep, I would end up under deep covers, and I would just when I tell you, like, I had a duvet, like a winter duvet, but it was year round. I used it year round, okay? Because my mother was going through menopause, and we all just had to put on more clothes, put on more blankets, whatever we could find. Let me tell you, now my habit is that I sleep under deep blankets. Like, it could be summer, and I want it to be like 71 degrees or 72 degrees when I go to bed, because then I can get underneath my blankets and sink under there and just have just my head, just my nose peeking out, like I'm a little kid, just my nose peeking out so I can breathe, and then that's all. Necessity breeds invention. Oh my gosh! Again, we are doing, what is it? Elbow cough. In this case, it's necessary to not have an annoyed woman yelling about the heat. Oh my gosh. That's so true. That's so true. It's so right. I don't want a menopausal woman yelling at me. I'd rather sleep under the covers in the dead of summer, sleep under a duvet, okay? That's my world. That is my world. But you can always put on more clothes. But at the same time, think how many men's lives we saved by having air conditioning. Like, just, oh my gosh, I'm cracking up, you guys. The air conditioning, I think it saved more men than it saved women. Just like Cullen says. Or if I can read that correctly, I'm trying to slowly improve. I won't go there. I won't go there. We are having too much fun, and I need to move on. I need to move on and actually do the air conditioning because I'm so excited to talk about it. But yeah, I don't want a woman yelling at me. Like I'd rather no, I'd rather just wear a blanket all day. I love blankets. I wonder if that's where my love of blankets come from. Like a blanket is never too far away from me. Honestly, I'm not joking with you. I'm not. I'm serious. I am legit serious. It's a dead of summer and I have blankets all around me, okay? I've learned. You never know. But it's very cool with the air conditioning unit. And you can see the cool pictures over here. And again, with the air conditioning, it's a joint venture between two companies. Yes, we're going to have like a designer because we talked about the coolant system and how that came about, the thermodynamics. But two companies came together, a radio company and a fridge company, and then they made air conditioning. So that makes sense because it kind of looks a little bit kind of like a radio. It has a little bit of a radio feel to it when you look at it. Yeah, take a look at that. But let's get into the reading. Air conditioning has important industrial applications in fields as diverse as food production and computer hardware manufacturing. But for the public, its main impact has been to improve the quality of life in the warmer parts of the world, notably in the US. The introduction of air conditioning was a necessary precondition to large scale population migration and economic development to the more southern states of America. The author's words. Raised in one of the cooler parts of the world where heat waves last days and not weeks or months, I did not grow up appreciating the benefits of central air. However, when my parents moved to Texas, where the average summer temperature can reach as high as 87 degrees Fahrenheit or 31 degrees Celsius, the attractions of air conditioning immediately became apparent. Although domestic refrigeration became common in the 1920s, domestic air conditioning lagged behind by a decade. The first portable window air conditioning unit went on sale in 1938. The Cool Wave was a joint venture between two companies, a major U.S. radio manufacturer and the York Ice Machinery Company, which specialized in industrial refrigeration and air conditioning systems. Although I have listed Willis Carrier as a designer, specialists in the history of air conditioning will know that he did not design the Cool Wave. The designer remains sadly anonymous. He was the inventor of air conditioning itself and the founder of a rival company to the York Ice Machinery. Carrier patented his industrial air conditioning system in 1906, which he had designed for a printing company in Buffalo, New York in 1902. Air conditioner works much like a refrigerator, with a liquid coolant circulating through coils under pressure. When the coolant passes through an expensive valve, suddenly reducing its pressure, the temperature drops, cooling the air that is blown into the room by a fan. In 1938, Thomas Midgley developed CFC Freon to replace toxic coolants such as ammonia, previously used in refrigerants and air conditioners. The Cool Wave combined Carrier's basic design with Midgley's Freon and packaged it in a stylish wooden cabinet. The unit could be plugged into an electrical socket and was small enough to move from room to room. The era of home summer comfort had arrived. Indeed, the era of home summer comfort had arrived. And the era of Americans, guilty, okay, I'm guilty, living in their homes during the winter had arrived, okay? It arrived. And ever since then, we've been living in our homes and we've been saying, thank goodness, thank goodness for all of this. Cool. This is like the air conditioner though has changed very little. It really has changed very little since it began. If it ain't broke, why fix it? Right? It works well. Slight changes have been made. They're bigger, and the dimensions and so on have been a little bit different. I certainly do love my air conditioning. Yes. Yes, we all hail the inventor, okay? All hail the inventor of air conditioning, because I know some of us would be like, nope, just nope. Willis Carrier, So again, not the designer of the cool wave itself, but the designer of the refrigerant system, the cooling process. So the process that works with the air conditioning is the same process that works with the refrigerator. So thermodynamics, air passes through a chamber and then it changes, rapid drop changes to a different expansion, and the rapid drop or the rapid change is making it colder, and then a fan blows it into the room, which is pretty cool. I think it's, differences of, again, we gloss on all these subjects because we want to have fun. We don't want to go to college because college is boring, okay? College is not boring, but might as well be. It might as well be. Depending on how good of a student you are, college is boring. CFC Freon, the toxic free substance that was made to replace the dioxide and other, toxins that we had or that were being used in the fridge, for example, at that time when it first began. So we found out ammonia is not good for people to ingest. So we came up with a new system. CFCs are a class of man-made chemical compounds containing carbon, chlorine, and fluorine. Freon is a trademark name for a specific type of CFC, primarily used as a refrigerant. They were widely used for refrigeration and air conditioning in vehicles and buildings, as well as aerosol spray cans. Did you guys know that? That it was used in aerosol spray cans? Look at that over here. I would have never guessed that, like, the same thing. But again, if you stop for a moment and we have this conversation like we are now, it's like, yeah, it does make sense. So, due to environmental impacts, CFCs have been phased out under international agreements. In America, they were banned from new cars beginning in 1995 and new air conditioning unit systems in 2010. Anyone else so curious how there is such a drastic change? Or is it exactly 15 years? Like we said, that in air conditioning lasts around that time. Like 15 years is like good amount of time. And then 18, 20, you're pushing it, I think. You're lucky. But two questions come to mind. A, why are they unable to last more than 15 years really for the average lifespan? Again, thoughts that come up in Shalinda's head. And if you have the answer, drop it down below. I'd love to get that. And then also, why couldn't it have been done more quickly? Why couldn't the switch have been done in the air conditioner like more quickly? Is it because simply that they had all these models that they were making? Or is it just like they lobbied correctly and were able to finagle and get things done? Because I think 1995 and 2010, that's a major difference. That's a big chunk. I think maybe like 5 years, beginning in 5 years, or maybe like 7 years, you'd be like, we start switching over. But 15 years, that's generous. I think that's quite a generous, decent amount of time. We have this diagram over here, or this little picture of how the system works and the process, the AC refrigerating cycle. It's a little bit too, small for us to really go through that right now. And again, we kind of tried to look over that, but we have so much to get through, and I'm so excited. I never have enough time to get through all this. But the Siemens electronic microscope, that is certainly a fascinating topic. Who needs the environment? I want to stay cold. The future generation might have something to say about that. But who cares? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I totally care about the children of the future. I really do. Do you believe me? am I a good? I'm a bad liar, actually. I'm really bad at lying, so I'm not even gonna lie to you. But yes, I prefer my air conditioning system over saving the environment. I think all of us would be like, so how many children will it save? 50? I think I would prefer my air conditioning, okay? I would prefer my air conditioning unit. Oh my gosh. The seismic. Okay, I'm gonna. People. My people. First thing, I'm gonna be showing a video. If you are a squeamish person and you do not like seeing, things that may look gross or may trigger you, if you don't like certain things that, you're like sensitive to, like, I don't know, bacteria, things that you may be seeing through a microscope. Anyways, look away at the parts you don't want to see, okay? But this is a microscope, the semen microscope, the TEM microscope. We're going to get more into that a little bit later. But I want you to see this video of how close we can zoom in into everything and seeing it on, well, the atomic level. It's amazing. And the microscope, what it brings us, all the positive things. Think of medicine. Think of every advancement we've made in terms of like going to the moon. And think about how we've made so many differences in the food industry. The microscope, biology, technology, the microscope has helped in every arena. What we most likely remember, what we most likely come in contact with, and how the microscope helps us in our everyday life is probably medicine. Probably medicine and advancement in the field of that thing. But so without much further ado, let's get into these cool close up zoom in pictures of these items. White blood cell chasing bacteria. Wow. Motor protein. It's a slug eating a lettuce. That looks so gross but so cool at the same time. Oh my goodness. This is a T cell attacking a cancer cell. Wow. Algae? Tardigrade? Tardigrade. I have no clue what that is. Snail drinks a drop of water. Oh, that looks cute. Aww. Wow. Lonely neuron trying to connect with others. Aww. Okay. Our neurons. Death of a neuron. Wow. That's what happens when you drink alcohol, okay? Mosquitoes laying eggs. This one is like, they kind of look like rice. And I'm sorry if you're eating right now. If you're eating right now, come back later, okay? Come back later. I'll have this posted up for you. The eye. Now that gets me. That's so crazy. Nanorobot. Inseminating an egg. A pen. A pen is always fun. Look at that. Microbot delivering medicine. Swimming. Magnetic. Oh, that's so okay, see that one? This is an ocean worm. I'm sorry if you're on, like, you don't want to go in the ocean now. This is a dollar bill. Zooming into Washington's eye. Oh my goodness. Wow. Cool. I had so much fun watching that. And through this process of looking for videos to talk about, you guys, I end up with the most interesting channels, and this one is one of them that I actually like. So, Mr. Scientific. I'm just giving him a shout out. I know, I have no authority to be giving anyone a shout out whatsoever, but credit where credit is due, my people. Credit where credit is due. But the microscope, that is what it's able to do. That is how close it can zoom in. And the impacts, the amazing things that come out of this is just wow. It's simply wow. I'm sorry, guys. I am. Huh. I have everything put together, but I'm so excited about all these little microscope thingies. These biomes. Okay. All right, now now I'm upset. Okay. All right. Ah, see, I got so excited that I lost my mind. I lost my mind. But we have to get back into the microscope and how it made such a difference. There we go. I'm gonna do something real quick. Hopefully this works. Awesome. And I'm gonna make sure. Yeah, I know. I know. My brain. But let's continue the reading. Let's get some more info down the way. With the microscope, you saw how close we're able to zoom in with that and see all those amazing things that's happening. But seeing all those things also gives us the power to see all the microbes and what's going on a deep level and be able to invent and find new cures for diseases such as polio. The development of the electron microscope overcame the limitations of optical microscopy using light. The transmission electron microscope enabled major advances in medieval science, with the imaging of the structure of the cell in viruses and in engineering and physics by revealing the atomic structure of materials. In the summer of 1930, the German electric engineer Reinhold Rudenberg received the fateful news that his infant son had contracted polio. Until 1950, when an effective vaccine was developed, polio was often fatal or left its victim with paralysis and wastage of the legs. Although poliovirus was known, it and other viruses were too small to be visible to the optical microscopes of the day. Rudenberg, building on existing theoretical research, proposed a microscope that would replace light with a beam of electrons, and he could be focused and it could be focused by electronic static lenses. His employer, Siemens AG of Germany, took out patents on the principle in 1931. The first optical microscopes are thought to have evolved from early telescopes in the late 16th century, but their full impact was only realized in the 17th century with the work of Robert Hooke and of the man described as the father of microbiology, the Dutchman Antony van Leeuwenhoek. It's just a fun name. Van Leeuwenhoek, whose publications were among the first to reveal the microscopic world to the general public. Magnifying power of a compound optical microscope is around 1000, and therefore insufficient to reveal biological structure as small as viruses. In 1897, the physicist J. Thomson discovered the electron, and in the following decades, several scientists, including Hungarian physicist Leo Szilard, proposed using this subatomic particles as a means of magnification, which has a much shorter wavelength than visible light. In 1931, while he was a postgraduate student, Ernst Ruska, building a prototype transmission electron microscope, aka TEM, transmission electron microscope, he continued to develop the TEM during the 1930s and designed the first commercial device in 1939 by taking advantage of the Siemens patents after he joined the firm in 1931. Realizing Rudenberg's dream, Ruska, working with his brother the microbiologist and Dr. Helmut Ruska, was able to produce the first images of viruses. A transmission electron microscope consists of three main sections: the illuminating apparatus, which is a high voltage electron gun, or cathode, located at the top of the unit, the specimen stage, and the lens assembly, consisting of electromagnetic lenses that form and focus the electron beam. In the TEM, the sample is extremely thin slice of material, part of which is transparent to the electron beam. The beam will pass through the specimen, collecting structural information about the material, which is magnified by the electronic magnetic lens. The data is transmitted to the recording viewing system. The image thus produced can be played on a fluorescent viewing screen or recorded photographically, though in modern designs it is transmitted directly to a computer display. Roscoe's first prototype had a magnification lower than the best optical microscopes of the day. Having established a principle of electron microscopy, in the next few decades after the war, he developed TEM to give a magnification of 100,000. The much higher magnifications possible with today's TEMs have not only transformed medicine but also material science, as the instrument can be used to study the structure of materials at the atomic level. The instrument can be used to study materials at the atomic level. Well, today we're having so much fun, you guys. We're simply going to go over time. That is the point. This is why I said 7-ish, okay? 7-ish. Sometimes we meet the demands, sometimes we have a lot of fun. And that's how we end up with 7-ish. But look at this. This thing is very big, actually. First, beginning very, very big. Let's look here, though. I want you to see the difference between what was and what he created, Roscoe and, all these other men, Rudenberg, his brother. It was a team effort. All of these things is people building on what already is and men coming up with new ideas and helping each other out. It's kind of cool, though, if you have brothers working together. It's rare that you get brothers working together. Actually, no, I'm sorry. That's not rare. The caterpillar, yesterday we talked about that. That's a bunch of brothers working together. The engine, Dodge brothers. That's my bad. But when siblings work together, it seems that magic happens. So it's cool to have a sibling because you can work together sometimes. It's a positive thing of having siblings. But let's see. For the TEM, what they're doing, the transmission electronic microscope, we are doing structure. I think we're beaming here. The sample is here. But then there's a fluorescent screen reflecting. There's also a lens here, and it's beaming up versus what it was before, where it's just beaming down and it's getting the information. So I think this part here being fluorescent and, approaching it from above and below, kind of like magnifying what's below to a higher degree. I think that's what makes the TEM so much better, and the magnification going to 100 times versus 1,000 times when it first started. I think that's what makes it what it is, and why it is so good at getting to such small things and showing us small images. But this is it. Like, I'm thinking back then, or maybe still today a little bit, this is how big this thing is. Like, this is insane. Like, it just almost looks like a little mini rocket, like a rocket. And then we have the whole desk here. It did talk about that the pictures are taken, and then in some cases they're just transmitted directly to the computer. So people don't even have to really look in them anymore or like capture it in any way. It's like electronically attached to the computer, and it just sends it through, which is super duper cool as well. And then this is the inventor working with his item. But what really struck me is still how big it is. It's just, I didn't expect it to be like that big of a thing, but it makes sense. It makes sense for all the layers that they have to put in through. That makes sense. But look at this. It looks, again, like he's manning a ship or something. All these different pieces. Ernest Roscoe. But no, von Leeuwenhoek. Leeuwenhoek is very fun to say. I tried to be as, correct as possible with all these pronouncing of the names. So if it is of German origin or Russian origin, or an origin that I know that like W's mean V's, like von Leeuwenhoek, like it's a W, but you would say Vaughn. It's just cool things. Um, Also, same thing with like the Jews as well for some of them, because again, you have to think Judaism or Jewish people, Germany. Same thing with the W. W is actually a V, which is fascinating. So they came here, but their last name remained the same. So when you're butchering everyone's last names, it's not your fault. It's just that they came from a different place where a W equaled a V. But this is a SEM. See, this is what we're looking at with the SEM, how fuzzy it is. Like you can see that, it's a round little thing and it's there. But the TEM, you can see inside of it. It's almost as if it's translucent and it's flat. It's not like it's like a 3D object that you're seeing or it's like a little round ball. It's 2D. Like you can see through it. And I think that's what that system does. And we're just looking at cells over here, but it's just fun little pictures. Do those remind you of olives or the eggs from Finding Nemo? I know the random thoughts that go through my brain. Do they remind you of olives or the eggs from Finding Nemo? Oh my goodness. That is my brain for you, okay? That's my brain. Da, 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 da. Let us see what is happening. I have some videos. Let's see. We have a scientist over here, and we're gonna see what he's doing in the modern day. So this was recorded a year ago. IBM. Okay, cool. Thank you, IBM. Um, I'm not sure if we need sound, but we're gonna start it and see how it goes. But this is an actual person. Oh, this is what it looks like in modern times. This is very cool. Still very big, but much more compact and a lot more space and less items on the outside. All the jaggedy hooks are now on the inside, like it should be. But let's look at this man and see what he's doing and what we can learn.
My name's John Ott, and I'm a research engineer here at the IBM T.J. Watson Research Center. The room we're in is an anaholic chamber, and this is an SEM, a scanning electron microscope, which is used to help solve some of the problems in processing. When people think about microscopes, they classically think about optical microscopes. So this is an optical microscope, uses light as the media to reflect off of a sample surface, and you capture it and look at it. This microscope uses electrons as the source.
Quick thing. Yeah, remember we did talk about it, that using wavelength light versus using the electron, because it's much shorter. We said that real quick. So now you get to see the real difference. This is just me coming in and out here, and we are in infancy, so we are rolling with the punches, okay? Don't judge. No judging.
Of how to image. And electrons are, unlike light, cannot be focused by glass lenses. So we have magnetic lenses in this column, which the electrons are formed here by a gun. This is a filament, which is similar to what's inside there. And the electrons are focused and accelerated down the column and strike our sample, which is inside this large chamber. The electron probe is focused and scanned over the sample surface, and the corresponding image is displayed on the screens here. So this allows us maximum resolution of an optical microscope is about 1/4 of a micron. The resolution of...
See? He's such a nerd. He's such a geek that he's throwing things at us that we're just like, sir, our brain hurts, okay? Our brain hurts. We are good. You've told us enough info. Ooh, okay. It looks like we're going to be zooming into a penny. So we got all the information and we heard all the little cool tidbits. I'm not going to torture you with all this information. So let's look into something that he's zooming into and bring this video home.
Most people don't realize that Abraham Lincoln is on both sides of the penny. Of course, he's on the front, but if you flip him over, there's a Lincoln Memorial on the back. And if you zoom in really high, you'll see Lincoln sitting inside that memorial. We're going to do that in this microscope. Electron microscopes operate in a vacuum, so we're going to load our sample into this vacuum right now. Here goes the rod in. look down here. Here's what the sample holder looks like with our pennies mounted. All right, here's our sample. I've loaded a penny and a couple of other interesting items in the microscope. The electrons come down out of this cone, strike the object they're going to illuminate, and then get collected by this detector here, a secondary electron detector. So let's start scanning. And there's the head of our penny, Lincoln's profile. Now let's go to the back.
I feel like if we all learned and saw these images in school, we'd have way more appreciation for how things work and how they're made. You know what? Let me repeat that. I feel like if we all learned and saw these images in school, we'd have way more appreciation for how things work and how they're made. Ditto. Ditto. You are so right. I agree with you on just everything. Everything right there. And I've always been a kid who's just, why? 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 Like, that was me as a kid. Like, the teachers would, like, I would ask these questions, and the teachers would just be like, no one thought of that. I don't even want to answer this question because no one thought of that. What do you mean you're thinking of that, Shalinda? Seriously? But yeah, school is not fun. School is not fun at all. Like, and also school is not made for the people who, don't want to learn about books all day. And I don't blame them. And I think a major thing that we are now realizing is that intelligence is different. People have different types of intelligence. There's like emotional intelligence, there's like being good with your hands kind of intelligence, there's like book reading intelligence, and there's like also intuition. There's so many different types, and I think if we gravitated towards what we genuinely enjoyed, we all would have so much appreciation, better appreciation for how the world works. Good. One in there. I'm loving these chat messages, you guys. Keep them coming.
And find the Lincoln Memorial. There it is. And if we mag up and focus. So here's his legs, here's his profile, and he's sitting down inside the Lincoln Memorial. Here's our penny. If you ever need to look at anything up.
Okay, I am so excited. That was my first time seeing that all the way through. No way. That's so cool. Okay, I can't anymore. I gotta do some more reading or else we'll be stuck here all day, you guys. Wow. That is so cool. I never knew that. I never knew Penny. Like, Lincoln is also on the other side. And again, it makes sense. A monument, like, he is there in real life. Last we checked, he was there in real life. We're not gonna go there, okay? Why is it that politics always getting me? Why is it that politics is always trying to get me? But let's do the reading so I don't get in trouble, okay? Let's do the reading so I don't go down a rabbit hole and get all the activists up on here. We don't need that kind of attention. We're okay. GE automatic washing machine. Ladies, gentlemen, this is for both of you. This is for all of you because washing stuff? Dang. Yeah, washing things by hand. Wow. Wow. So, let's just get into it without much further ado. 10 years after giving the homemaker the first affordable self-contained refrigerator, the monitor top, General Electric, developed the first most important labor-saving appliance of the century, the automatic top-loading washer, disposing one of the week's most time-consuming and irksome tasks. If you'd asked your great-grandmother what the worst household chore was, she probably would have replied, the weekly wash. Although the first electric washing machines had been introduced at the beginning of the 20th century, early models were little more than primitive hot tubs with moving paddles, lacking many of the functions we take for granted on washers today. They agitated the clothes in hot, soapy water, but they did not fill or empty automatically, which had to be done by hand. By the 1940s, washers were fitted with electric wringers, or mangles, to wring out clothes before they were hung out to dry. Combo washer dryers were still a decade or so away. What takes a modern automated washer 30-45 minutes to do, depending on the cycle chosen, could take a homemaker 2 hours or more with a pre 1947 washer. An ad for the time goes, without wetting a hand, the user of an automatic can do a 9-pound wash in an hour, in a half an hour. A chore that still takes 2 hours using the conventional washers, according to time and motion studies. As we've seen in earlier entries on the sewing machine, the typewriter, the vacuum cleaner, and the refrigerator, women's roles had begun to change in the late 19th century. Women's emancipation continued after the First World War and accelerated after the Second. Women were much more likely to go to work and much less likely to have help at home, though they were still expected to do the bulk of the cooking, cleaning, and childcare. By the mid 1940s, improvements in technology combined with increasing disposable incomes meant that labor saving domestic appliances were now within reach of most middle class families. The holy grail of laundry in the post war US, which was finally delivered by the GE automatic washer in 1947, was a fully automated cycle that you turned on and came back to when the clothes had been washed, rinsed, and spun dried. In terms of design and function, the GE automatic washer marked the beginning of modern laundry appliances. The machine had two sets of controls. On the left, the temperature selector with a choice of warm, medium, and hot, and the timer, ranging from 3 to 20 minutes. I'm surprised at the 3 minutes. That's very small. Anybody else surprised by that? The cycle selector on the right feature a choice of full automatic cycle, or 45 minutes, or manual settings for soak, wash, rinse, and dry. Once the clothes were loaded, detergent was added to the internal soap dispenser. The washer was plumbed into the house's water supply, and drainage therefore did not require manual filling and emptying. The water entered via the soap dispenser into the machine. When it reached the correct level, the water flowed into the top of the agitator and down into a cup that started the washing action. At the end of the wash, the washer drained and rinsed in the inner tub of suds before initiating a first spin. After completing the rinse cycle, the machine spun at 1,140 RPM, drying the clothes in the inner tub. Water remained in the outer and could be either drained by selecting empty on the main control or reused for another cycle. Again, another thing that fascinates me, it could be reused for another cycle? That seems very efficient and also very very good use of resources. And you could think that like if you had children running around and they had mud all over their clothes and you save that water that you use for those first set of clothes, compared to the mud that's coming out of those children's clothes, that water is not dirty. I imagine it wouldn't be dirty. But that's a very cool thing to think about. Very cool. This is like the first one coming out. It looks super duper cute. And of course, as time goes on, we have new ones, new machines, new types. But before we had the washing machine, look at this. This is cool. This is antique. This is antiquity right here. But this looks interesting too. Like you just turn it around and it just like beats it. That's what it's looking like. I'm not sure. And General Electric, for many of these things that we're bringing to the home, for this one, this was the first like item that really didn't have a single inventor as like in terms of a person, but rather it was a joint effort by the A&D department of General Motor. And that's fascinating to me. Today, I'm sure we don't think much about it, but I suppose companies make changes in products and make slight variations all the time. It's just that today, I don't think they're really coming up with brand new ideas from complete scratch. And I think that's the beauty of General Electric in this sense is that it made such a thing possible. Summer is bearable because inventors made it possible. Air conditioning, washing machine, microscope, refrigerator, television. I know, the television especially. I know. It's a major. I mean, If you are going to be stuck inside all day, are you not watching YouTube? Are you not watching, you know, I would say Netflix, but Netflix has been on my nerves lately, people. Okay? Netflix is making me upset. Um, I don't pay for Netflix. I just steal my sister's subscription, okay? Like a normal person. Um, I just find my way to make it work, but I'm not going to pay for Netflix anymore. It's not worth the price. So, YouTube it is for me, I suppose. What are you guys watching? So, for this moment, the floor is open. We've talked about everything. I want to show the washing machine scene and how it works, but as I'm doing that, feel free to drop some things down below. I'm gonna stay here for a minute. It is 8:15. This is why we say 8-ish. But I'm gonna stay here for a minute. Drop something in the box. Talk about it. Let me know. I'll be here for a minute. And in the meantime, we're gonna look at a video of washing machines and how it first started. Oh, or at least a system. Let me. Okay, there we go. Or like you see, for this one, we're just gonna see like how it works and what it does, the process of it, real quick. So, the top loader GE washing machine. Water. We clean. So drain all that through those holes, or it comes down the bottom. Interesting. But also very interesting that at that time they really only had 3 minutes available. Really? What do you use 3 minutes for delicates? I guess like all the underwear could be done in one load. If you again, if you're thinking family, everyone's underwear could be done all at once, or everyone's delicates could be done all at once. Maybe that's what the 3 minutes would be for. But honestly, 3 minutes? We wouldn't dream of putting anything on 3 minutes. Okay, this is kind of more of a sad scene. Willy Wonka, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I know, I'm here to make you a little bit like, yeah, we started off on like on a good, relatively positive note. We're ending on a, let me, lend me your heart for a minute so I can make you sad, okay? But this is a washing process of before we had washing machines. This is what we're looking at. It's crazy. Yeah, there's some audio going on here, and you remember it. But I mostly wanted to show you that she's legit using a ladle to like move the clothes around in this very big cauldron, almost like full of like hot water. And then she's over there. She's just hands. Again, hands. Yeah, she has a machine that she can like put it down and like rub it, but yeah, you have like a big ladle spoon where you move the clothes around. Maybe these clothes are being pre-soaked, it looks like, or they're in a hot machine trying to loosen up all the dirt. But yeah, life. This was life before we had the washing machine. Time consuming, 2 hours. This is what women, had to do back in the day to get the laundry done. And in some parts of the world, it's still very much true. Luckily for us in this developed country, we are fortunate to have such a machine. But yeah, I've washed a couple things by hands before, so I'm well aware. All I can say is thank God for technology and inventors. Amen. Amen to that, okay? Technology, yes. Oh my goodness, yes. And the thing about it, we talked about the microscope very, very briefly a little bit. It would appear, but the thing that gets me of how useful, of how many diseases, and just having penicillin, having antibiotics, just those basic things are just have propelled our society to a whole different level. Yeah, thank God for technology and inventors. We also have to give our inventors a lot of credit, you guys. Our inventors they go through a decent amount. They really do. And I don't know. I don't know what woman inventor we're going to come across, but I look forward to finding one. I'm not joking, okay? I don't think it's possible. I don't think I'll find any. I'm not roasting them. I know Madame Curie, but I think she's really more of a discoverer than an inventor. Maybe, or maybe she is an inventor. But we like maybe we'll look into Madame Curie. But Madame Curie is the only one I can think of. Anybody else can think of a woman inventor? No hate on my women, okay? I get it. Like we have to have all the children, so that's where our energy was before when all this was happening. But also for me though, as a woman speaking, for me personally, I have zero inclination to go in that area and work with all those different metal pieces. Okay, I have none whatsoever. I admire and I enjoy seeing what these men went through, and I'm kind of here as a person who really is giving credit where credit is due. I'm kind of here to highlight the heroes, the unsung heroes, and to give credit to these people who invented such awesome machines and making our lives bearable today. Summer is bearable because of these inventors. So thank goodness for inventors. So I suppose I'm saying thank you to really all of my engineers, all of my builders, and all of my scientists, and also doctors. I guess I'm saying thank you to all the men. And I think this is a perfect way to end. We've hung out for a couple minutes. We got more than enough time. And I will see you tomorrow. I know. I know it's been such a short period of time, but it's also been very long. So, au revoir, à demain, à semaine prochaine.